Donald Trump is back in the United States empty-handed after his second summit with Kim Jong-un. And now he'll have to claim the baggage he left behind, damaging allegations from his former lawyer and fixer Michael Cohen. The US and North Korea are trying to put a positive spin on the summit, saying they've agreed to keep talking and working towards denuclearization. But North Korea is also contradicting the president's claim that the summit fell apart because Pyongyang demanded all sanctions be lifted. The foreign minister says Kim Jong-un offered to permanently dismantle a major nuclear site in exchange for partial lifting of sanctions. For more on this, we're joined now by Peter Mathews in Los Angeles. He's a professor of political science at Cypress College. Peter, it's been a while, so good to see you.
Good to see you, John.
So it turns out the world's greatest deal maker, who tweeted in 2014, "Deals are my art form. Other people paint beautifully or write poetry. I like making deals, preferably big deals. That's how I get my kicks." It turns out the movie that Donald Trump had played in his head, how he would first intimidate Kim Jong-un and then win him over with a warm smile and a kind word, and then he would get the kind of concessions out of Kim Jong-un that no one else could really get. That was all just built on sand. And Trump was wrong. The intelligence community was right. At this point, the North Koreans have no intention of giving up their nuclear weapons.
No, they don't actually at this point, and that's pretty unfortunate. They wouldn't negotiate, but there's a reason for it. You got to go back to 1994 when President Clinton negotiated the agreed framework with North Korea for about 8 years. The U.S. and Japan and South Korea had an agreement with them to provide light water reactors to replace the electricity that the Soviet Union were providing from them earlier. And that was actually discontinued with President Bush coming in and accusing the North Koreans of cheating. So there was a lot of mistrust. And so at this point, President Trump and Mr. Kim Jong-un were working under an aura of mistrust. And so there should have been a halfway measure where they came halfway. Perhaps part of the sanctions could have been lifted for the ones that would affect regular people, as they were asking. And President Trump should have accepted the partial nuclear, the shutdown of the nuclear Yongbyon plant as an exchange, in a sense.
And what was interesting,
that didn't happen.
Yeah, and what was interesting is that I think the official who made the accusation at the time the North Koreans were cheating was John Bolton. And John Bolton is, again, in the picture advising the president on these kind of issues. Yeah. Well, the administration and others have tried to spin this in some kind of positive way. The reality is the threat from North Korea in terms of capability and stockpile is greater today than the day Donald Trump took office.
It certainly is, John, and they can certainly reach Los Angeles with their missiles and nuclear weapons. That's very problematic and very concerning to us, and there's got to be some way to negotiate. We saw what happened when the rhetoric got so fiery about a year and a half ago between the two leaders, and it looked like we could actually go to an accidental war with them by some miscalculation, and that could happen again, John. So they have to try once again. They have to get back into the summit once again. The good thing is they have not written that off. They said this is not the end. They're going to start again another summit, perhaps. But right now, they've got to go back and figure out how to approach this, because the attitude toward this issue is as important as the actual steps taken. And the steps have to actually reflect the attitude, and that has to be done on both sides.
If there is to be another summit, and that seems to be an if right now, some of the reporting about the North Korean leader losing his enthusiasm for talks. But if there is a third summit, is the lesson in all of this is that, despite what Donald Trump may sort of dismiss as, the old ways of doing things, and, everyone got it wrong back at, in the old administrations, but the reason why they did all the groundwork leading up to these summits is so that you have a successful outcome. By the time the two leaders get into the room, there's not much which is out there which is sort of up for discussion. Everything then comes down to what these two men come to terms on, and there's no one walking out because of last-minute demands, for example.
That's right, and the preparation was not made as it was made before when Clinton did the negotiations. A lot of preparation ahead of time is extremely important for diplomacy. They could have come up with other kinds of solutions. The idea of signing a peace treaty with North Korea, ending the Korean War. That could have been a confidence-building measure, but that would take preparation. And President Trump was not prepared this time around. He's kind of winging it at these summits, and that doesn't work, as you can see, John.
Yeah. A spare a thought, too, for the family of Otto Warmbier. He's the American student who died shortly after North Korean authorities returned him to the U.S. He'd been in prison there for about a year. The autopsy revealed he died from a catastrophic brain injury. And in Hanoi, the U.S. president made it clear he did not hold Kim Jong-un responsible for Warmbier's death. Listen to this.
He felt badly about it. I did speak to him. He felt very badly. He knew the case very well, but he knew it later. He tells me that he didn't know about it, and I will take him at his word.
Donald Trump seems to be the only person in the world who might believe that, and that really sends a message to dictators everywhere that once again, the president of the United States is willing to believe a dictator.
It's unbelievable because he looks so naive when he says those things, or disingenuous, because he knows that in a dictatorship like North Korea, nothing like that gets done without the top man knowing about it. And Warmbier really suffered a horrible head injury. He probably had torture. And that was, the president should have actually condemned that and said, no one's getting away with this, including don't give a free pass to the top leader of the country like he did. It's unconscionable, John. I don't know what the president's trying to do when he does those kinds of things and says those things.
It's one of the mysteries out there. Peter, as always, thanks so much. It's good to see you. It's been a while.
You too, John. Take care.
Cheers.